Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to talk about is calendars on watches. Most of my watches have no calendars at all. I'm not a big calendar fan, but I have some, and the ones I have I really like, so it works out. Now, what I want to do, I want to start with the simplest and go to the more complex. And so we'll start with the simplest, which is usually mine because mine are pretty simple. This is the one that pictures one I'm wearing. It's a Urban Jurgensen with at 3 o'clock. It's got a little window with the date. Today's date, the day I'm recording this, happens to be the 29th. And you know, that's what's on there. And so to me, it could be very important. But the reason that probably not crazy about it is that I rotate my watches, so I'll have one all wound up, and then when time I come back to it again, it's likely to have unwound, and the date will be wrong. So then I have to reset the date. So anyway, so anything fancier than a date is probably a little more than I can handle. Now, the date, position of the date, and the type for a simple date. This is my a chronograph, Daniel Roth chronograph, and let me see if I can find it. They have the date here at 4:30. Okay, and for some reason I like 4:30 because nothing else is happening at 4:30, so it's always a good place to put a date. Some of the other ones, this is another one I have, and it has the date. I don't know if you can see it down at 3 o'clock. This is a Parmigiani. And so you see the day before and the day after plus today's date. Now, this one is the 29th. And the way this one works is that in order to have larger date numbers, so it's easier to see, what they did is that they have the odd numbers are big and the even numbers are dots. And so you can't, and so what you have to do is look at the day before, day after. And so tomorrow on the 30th, it'll be a dot. And so I can look at either the previous or the next day and see what day it is. Another one I have is just a simple 6 o'clock. There's the date down here, the 29th on my Harry Winston. So the simple date window is the most common. You find it. And the way it's done, you can see there over on the right side, I got that's the date disc for a Rolex Yachtmaster. I happen to like Yachtmaster, so I like Yachtmaster too. But this is a nice, all it is that you have a little wheel in here going around and with the different dates on it. And so when it comes up to your window, they pop up. So anyway, so that's the first kind of date. Now the second kind is typified by the Rolex day date. In a Rolex day date, I really like it. They have at the top, you can see it's Monday. To the right, you can see the date, and they have this little thing that is a magnifying thing. Some call it the Cyclops windows, and some Rolex fans will tell you in the drop of a hat they don't like it, but I think it's a great idea because it sort of magnifies what you can see. So that's your day date. Now, a lot of times you'll see to the left of the date, over at 3 o'clock, it'll have the day. So it'll say, for example, Wednesday, or in this case, it'll be Thursday 28th. And so you have a little TUR. And what they have for that, they have sort of a double disc inside the movement, that one moves for the day of the week and the other one moves for the date. Now, another one, this is on the one on the right, my Harry Winston, is very unusual. It's a day date, and the date is down at 6 o'clock. I think I was just showing you that. And the day is, there's a little retrograde. Okay, now, instead of using a little disc for the day, on the inside, it has simply the indicators on, I guess, painted on top of the dial. and they have a retrograde hand that just goes through them, and then after Sunday it pops back to Monday again. And you also have a little to set it. You have a little pusher right here about 2 o'clock, a little pusher, and you just push it to get the day that you want. But the day date is another one of those ones that I like. Day dates. I have, I mean, it's like the 29th. It could be any day of the week. And it can be helpful if you're, every Wednesday I gotta do this or do that. And so part of a schedule, for example, part of a work schedule. Now this next one is, for some reason, I think you can see why. It's a beautiful watch to me. This is a Vacheron Constantin 10 Historique Triple Calendar 1942. And this one has one of my favorite features, and it's called the hand date. And the arrow on it with the little red tip points to the day of the month. Right now, this one is pointing to 11, so it'd be, then we look at the two windows for the day and the month in the windows between 10 and 2, and so it says Monday, Sep 11, okay? This, to me, I don't know why I like this watch so much, but I do. I think it's a gorgeous watch. It has a simplicity to it, yet it has an artistry to it that really appeals to me. And I like the whole, everything about it. And a triple date. Now, I've got trouble trying to keep one date straight. Having 3 dates, I don't know. I like this one so much, I might spend the time making sure everything is set up. It's got a 4400 movement in it, and I have one, I think it's called a 4400 QC or something like that. But I have one of those, and they're great movements. They're fabulous movements. They're hand-wound movements. It takes forever to wind, so you just wind and wind and wind, and you get about a 2-day power reserve out of that. But this watch is, what a yummy one. And this is a triple date. So it'd be the day date and the month. So you get all of them in one package. Now, another kind of calendar is the annual calendar. And what the annual calendars have is that they have the name of the month, the day of the week, the day of the month, and pretty much like the triple calendar, except the difference is that you only have to set it once a year. It's called an annual calendar. And I think at the end of February is where you got to set it up and make sure that the counter is back to the 1st of March, and so you're good to go for another year. And this I like a lot too. Again, one of the problems that I think you might run into is having the clock wind down, especially if you rotate them. That's very likely to happen. If it's it's something you wear every day, like something you go to work with every day and you really like to wear, then that's a little different. The A. Lange Saxony annual calendar I really like for a lot of reasons. It's very clear. You can take a look at a glance and see the day of the month. It's on this one, it's showing the 25th. And then you can clearly see the month at the subdial at 3 o'clock, and then the day of the week at the subdial at 9 o'clock. Just a nice watch, and it's got very much of a sporty nature to it. Now, another one I like a lot is Laurent Ferrier-Galet annual calendar school piece. It's called a school piece because of something that happens. I've heard that term before with a lot of watches that are not made by somebody going to watchmaking school, but there's certain things about that bring it back. Now, this one is almost identical to the annual triple calendar in the Vacheron Constantin. Between about 2 and 10 o'clock, you got these two little windows with the day of the week, Friday, and then the month, November, and then you have a hand date that goes out around the edge and tells you, like, this one is sort of halfway through the 19th and aiming toward the 20th. And this is another watch I really like. Nice. I like Laurent Ferrier's. He's got a very elegant, clean style to the work that he does. Now, the thing about an annual calendar um, is that they're less complicated than a perpetual calendar, and they are a lot less expensive. By and large, your annual calendar, and I wouldn't mind setting it once a year. I mean, it's not like a burden on you, but there's a lot more complications. And this next one we're going to look at, and this is the perpetual calendars. Now, the Patek Philippe on the left this has got three subdials. One is a moon phase plus a hand date. And then it has at 3 o'clock, it's got the months. And then at 9 o'clock, it's the day of the week. Now, what you can see in the 3 o'clock subdial, this is what you'll find on all perpetual calendars, is that it's sort of a leap year indicator. If it's a leap year, then February has, 29 days, I guess, and instead of 28. And so that's your watch has to somehow recognize that. And so, as you can see on the Patek Philippe, you have right now it's in March, and so the question is how do you know which one it is? I'm not quite sure how they do that on that particular watch. I know they do it, but there's usually something sort of clever that they'll have. Now, on the H. Moser, there are any number of things about the H. Moser that I really like. It's another perpetual calendar, and the big green one is the Endeavor perpetual calendar. I love this watch, and what they did is one of these things. It's very subtle. It's a very clean watch. They don't even have the name of the company on it. And most people who know Mosers could recognize it a block away, though. And there's a little stub hand, and it's pointing at the 12 right now. Well, Moser figured out pretty quickly that the 12 hours in the day and also 12 months in a year. And so they figured, we'll just use the one of the hands to indicate the month. And instead of having to do much else with it, and then there's a date window over at 3 o'clock. By the way, on the Oolonga, the thing I liked about it is a great big date window. And the one on mine is, it's about medium smallish. The one on this H. Moser is a pretty good size. Now, what they did, a lot of people didn't like that little stubby hand that was pointing to the month, and it had to be small and stubby so it wouldn't be confused with the hour and minute hands. They said, well, we want to see the month, something that'll help us out on that. And so what they have up there, the one with the purple dial that I have up there is one of the newer ones, perpetual calendar. And so they have it with a date window, and so they took out the stubby little hand. And at 9 o'clock, there are power reserve indicators on this. Now, for the leap year indicator, they had something very simple. They put it on the back. You flip it over, and there's this star thing, and it's got these little black, look like arrowheads, and those are the leap years. And so to me, it was in that way you can keep a nice clean dial. Some people like the more complicated ones, like the one on the Patek Philippe. Now, this last one we're going to look at, this thing is just brilliant watch design. That's the only word for it. Patek Philippe added some 300 parts to it. They were bragging about it at one point. We had our super complication. We had all these parts so we have a perpetual calendar. Well, this guy, Ludwig Osen, came along and he used 9 additional parts plus 3 modified parts and made a perpetual calendar watch. It's a fascinating watch. It runs on, it's by this company called Oaks Jr., which not pronounced that way because it's pronounced in the German way. This perpetual calendar is so cool. It doesn't take you long to figure it out, but what they did with it is that they used as much as possible for the to show everything they needed on a regular watch. Now, in the center there are 4 dots. One of them is orange, and if one of those 4 dots is orange, that means it's a leap year. So this would be indicating a leap year. Now, it's really pointing at something between 6 and 8 o'clock. The two indexes for 6 and 8, and that's 7. 7 is the number for July, and so that's how you look at it and say, oh, okay, so it's July. If it's pointing right at 6 o'clock, it's June. 4 o'clock, it's April, and so forth. And what they have is that at each index and at each midpoint between the numbers is a date. And so it's not too hard to get all 12 of them in there in a 12-hour watch. And then the day of the month is on the dot track. So whatever day lights up is the day of the month, and the first date is that one right up there. It's sort of a double. It makes sort of a snail kind of conch shell kind of move around there, and it's not a perfect circle, but it sort of goes up and then drops down again. And that's, I think, to account for the leap year on this. It's a brilliant watch. There's, like I said, it's got a fairly simple movement. Ulysse Nardin UN 118. That's very much off the shelf watch. But by the time that someone like Ludwig Oceanson is finished with it, you got a perpetual calendar out of it. Anyway, I don't know what you think about calendars, but I'd like to find out, get your opinion of it. If you have any calendar watches, what kind you have and what you think of them. And this is an opportunity to subscribe if you'd like. Put that on your calendar. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.